Feeling under the weather?
Oh yeah, I had flu a little while ago, and I still have my cough. All right, content live, copy. All right, chat. There's a
Hey!
there's a link. Um,
Oh, I've got it. That is a big monitor, my dude.
yeah. Let me see what I can do here. Output. Uh, I can't seem to change it. But that's okay. We're just gonna do a what you call it? Uh, just gonna do a browser window, and
Sure.
so yeah, you won't have to read any text or anything. So apologies, but anyways, let's do it and see. Let's see. All right. Okay. So it's this middle piece here we're going to want to look at.
Okay.
Um, and essentially, what the demo is one second. What's the word I'm looking for? It's been a while since I ran this demo, so give me a
No
second.
worries.
All right. So I'm gonna look for information. What this demo is essentially it's a uh, a tool that I was building to use public source information to try and find information about random people online. Basically,
Okay.
I would use
Sure,
it
yeah.
to whatchamacallit. I would use it to gather talking points essentially about people I'd talked to.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And so let's let's I'm gonna have to go over here to let's go over here to Twitter.
I'm like probably 20 seconds behind you on the live feed.
Okay. Um, Give me just a minute. Uh, the latency's unfortunate. But anyways, let's try and find some. How shall we put it? Let's try and find some. Whatchamacallit? Let's try and find some
Me?
information about you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's do me.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to be speaking to Drew. Let's make sure I spell your name correctly. Carson. Twitter URL is. There we go. Doesn't have access to LinkedIn because, like, I messed up on um, injecting uh, authentication token. So, anyways, I can't access LinkedIn.
That's
But
okay.
we'll give it your Twitter URL. That should give you some information about should give me some information about you. And yeah, let's go from there. So I'm going to be speaking to Drew Carson. Twitter URL is this URL. I want to find 3 talking points as I will be speaking to him about my AI Swarm tool today. And so the way this is, excuse me, this will take about a minute or so to run. And it's going to pop up a browser window here at some point.
Cool.
You'll see it. It's already up on my screen.
Uh-huh.
And essentially, it's going to navigate this browser. I'm not actually going to touch anything.
I'll let you know when I see it, because on my side it's still typing in the prompt. Oh, you just submitted the prompt.
Yep. Yep. Right now, it's working through a bunch of its tools, and so just let me know when you can see the browser and you see the analyze content output.
Sure.
It's analyzing your recent tweets, essentially.
Okay, so it just popped up with the browser. Is it just reading this like the way a person would, or is it downloading the code and doing a direct text interface? What's happening?
So what's going on is there's about 13 different tools that it has that it can navigate the web with. One of them is open in a browser, obviously.
Sure.
Another one's like opening a URL. Then there's like scrolling that it can do. It doesn't look like it's actually scrolling. I've been watching it. It's not actually scrolling. But in essence, what's happened here is, and I'll just walk through. And again, apologies for the delay.
No worries.
So essentially, there's 2 agents. Two agents in this program. There's a leader, and then there's a browsing agent. Now, the leader is who I'm talking to through this web interface.
Sure.
And I've given it some context. I've just given it one URL. That's your Twitter URL. And I'm basically asking it to summarize your recent tweets from your Twitter profile. Aim for things like insights, interests, projects, upcoming events that you'd be involved with, etc. Blah 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 blah. And we send this message from the leader, or we send this message from the user, which is me, to the leader, and the leader is then asked to summarize the recent tweets from your profile.
Okay.
And it sends it to the browsing agent. So it's essentially taking what I put in the text field, and it's like rewording it, essentially.
Yeah.
The browsing agent will then go to open the URL. It uses this tool and gives the URL as the path, to open.
Okay.
It'll read that URL, right? So make sure that it's loaded the correct site.
Right.
And then the browsing agent will basically try and summarize the recent tweets. That it's the request that it received from the leader.
Cool.
So in order,
So you prompt the leader, and then the leader kind of commands its army of
yeah,
the bot.
in this version of the swarm, you can't arbitrarily talk to a specific agent. You can only talk
Okay.
through the leader.
Right.
There's a branch that I have currently in a broken state that does add the ability to mention, just like you would tweet at somebody, um, mention an agent directly, and so
And
long
that kind of
as
forces
the
it to use that agent.
yeah, and so long as the swarm is set up and configured in a way that allows direct communication between the user and that agent,
Right.
meaning it's a top level kind of agent, then it will allow you to it'll send a message directly to that agent instead of to the leader, and then require the leader to proxy it. So
That's pretty cool.
the reason I'm making that change is because it's basically to improve latency in the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
All right.
when excuse me, when the page finally loads, we call this analyze content function, and
Right.
basically it took a screenshot of your Twitter profile,
Uh-huh.
and it says from the screenshot provided on Drew Carson's profile and social media platform, it looks as though you've expressed an interest in a few areas and mentioned projects that he's involved in. Here's a summary of the activity. And essentially, it's got a tweet from February 15th where you seem to have replied to somebody. The content of the message suggests an excitement about an anticipated increase in movie volume, possibly hinting at a project or development related to the audio or film.
Mm-hmm.
Another tweet from the 19th mentions more detail on menu interactions, hints that you're working on something around a user interface or design experience, that kind of thing. And then the screenshot
the thing is,
indicates. Sorry, go ahead.
I noticed that it's accessing kind of this public public profile. Would it be possible for it to use like credentials that you give it so that it can access from within, kind of within the system? Because I think X is filtering out a large number of my tweets, which kind of gives it a skewed perception of
Yeah,
what I do.
yeah. That was the original idea. I just never got around to implementing it.
Yeah.
Because LinkedIn is horrible for this. And that was my principal data platform was I because I meet most of my people on LinkedIn, and so or tools that have LinkedIn profiles associated with them, and so I always have the LinkedIn URL usually.
It kind of reminds me because I'm supposed to be getting my Humane AI pin this week. And
Okay.
they have like connected services that you can get on Bot Center, which
Mm-hmm.
is like their iCloud basically.
Okay.
Um, and so you can like give it, or you can connect services that you already own, and then it can use them via API. Um, Obviously, that's not the same as like it being able to operate a computer to access those things the way a human would.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It seems like a similar idea. Like it would
Yeah.
be great if it can kind of store the credentials that you choose to entrust it with, and then like it be able to access things with the same credentials that you have.
Yeah. That makes sense. And the idea originally was to have a data storage layer for secrets, particularly
Sure,
session
yeah.
cookies and things.
Uh-huh.
And but yeah, so down here at the bottom, I know you can't see it yet, but you will in a few seconds.
Uh-huh.
It's you can kind of see the analyze content function output. That's literally the output of the function from the model. Then that gets transformed by the browsing agent in a message to the leader, which summarizes kind of everything that I mentioned before. And then finally, the leader responds to the user by further modifying the output, essentially.
Yeah.
And so,
What I really like, what
yep,
I really like about this project is that it kind of benefits, like the more you develop on top of this, the more it becomes like a compound exponential growth function of like what is possible. Like every new tool you give it not only interacts directly with the leader, but potentially can kind of interact with the whole ecosystem and make it more powerful, which is really cool. Eventually, you're going to be like Tony Stark with Jarvis.
hopefully
Yeah.
at some point. But yeah, and the real big thing here is the way that you set up the swarm itself.
Hmm.
It's not limited to like sequential, meaning, communication has to flow from one agent to another.
Right. Right.
It's not limited to hierarchical, meaning, teams essentially, right?
Right.
They don't have to work on teams.
Okay.
Communication is directional. And what I mean by that is if you think of like nodes in a graph,
Right.
they're connected by edges, right? And edges have a direction.
Right.
Communication in my swarm is built entirely upon directed edges, essentially.
Interesting. So does each node then have like its own context pool?
Yeah, so like if you're familiar with, well, I'll use the OpenAI API because it's the one most people are familiar with.
Right.
But
Right.
if you're familiar with how you would talk to that API, you give it essentially messages between the assistant and the user, right? That's
I've
how
been working
OpenAI's.
with Anthropic, but yeah, it's the same concept.
Oh yeah. Anthropic works the same way. But it works in a similar sort of fashion. Um, the only difference is the model runs on a machine behind my desk. Um,
Yeah.
and so the the interesting thing is that because of the way that messages get directed, you can implement sequential, hierarchical, or really any kind of directed communication.
Huh.
And so you do have that kind of flexibility. And because of how that communication works,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's not you don't have this mandate that you must implement things in a certain way, right?
It's flexible.
It's flexible. Excuse me. And yeah, we can kind of bend it and twist it however needed.
That's cool. Well, and that's how I think these kinds of systems should be. They should be flexible because they're supposed to be increasingly generalized as time goes on.
Yeah, and like the way the tools work. So like if we look at the browsing tools, so like we can analyze some content, we can click elements, we can go back in history, we can read a URL, we can scroll a page, select from a drop down, send some keys, so like interact with the keyboard,
Uh-huh.
solve a CAPTCHA. That one was tricky. But like those select all the fire hydrant CAPTCHAs?
Yeah. No, I
It-
can't wait for those to die. So
Yeah.
good on you for furthering the mission.
Yeah.
If AI can solve them, then we're gonna phase them out, and then we can just go straight to biometrics, and that's where I want to be. It's a lot faster.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, so like this is essentially the nuts and the bolts of it, and this demo is just two agents, but like
It could be so many.
yeah, you could now keep in mind because communication happens serially, meaning one after another.
Right, right.
I haven't figured out a way yet to get multiple messages being processed at the same time. I would have to have multiple GPU nodes in the pipeline, and that causes a few other issues that I
Sure.
need solutions to. But
Can I ask you kind
yeah,
of
go ahead.
a more abstract question about AI?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've noticed that these are primarily reactive systems, and by these I mean yours, everyone I've seen. Like
Yep.
not just yours, but every AI so far I've seen. And I imagine that if we're going to get to human level intelligence or super intelligence, we're we're going to have a place where an AI lives in real time, similar to how our brains operate in real time, and we can be providing output with our mouths or our bodies or whatever, but at the same time we're also processing input, and so it's just this kind of input output machine that is always doing some of both. My question is, have you considered uh, what that might look like in software, even on just a high level, not like I'm building this right now, but just kind of forward thinking, and if so, do you have any insights into how a system like that might operate?
Yeah. So it's tricky. Um, the biggest issues involved with essentially giving a real time home to a model
Mm-hmm.
is that um, the system complexity is just significantly more complex.
Enormous.
Yeah. Like just building
But
a
here's the
production.
other consideration. Not to cut you off. I want to hear the rest of this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just another quick ingredient to this equation is also that our brains are trained in real time as well. So there's not a training phase and then a prompting or inference phase.
Yeah.
Our brains are constantly training and inferring. So keep going.
Yeah. The tricky bit with just building production AI systems in general
Uh-huh.
is the complexity that's needed. So like, just take guardrails as an example, right?
Right.
Um, to protect uh, your users from misbehaving models, you
Mm-hmm.
need guardrails.
Sure. Sure.
And those kinds of guardrails definitely don't um, uh, losing my train of thought. um,
Those kind of guardrails definitely don't.
yeah, they don't exist out of the box.
Mm.
So they tend to be baked into models to some extent, but
Right.
when you do need to when you do need to yeah, I'm just losing my train of thought.
That's okay.
But
I want you to I want you to know, Jeremy, that I actually feel very comfortable talking to you because I feel like our brains work in similar ways.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, it's not a terribly complicated system, to be
mm,
totally honest with you. It's a few
mhm,
thousand lines of code.
sure.
It's a couple dozen tools in total,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's just interesting. Um,
Yeah.
but
No,
like,
I'm excited to see where it goes. I think this is it's cool that you can like show me an AI system that's opening a browser, analyzing something about me, and then like afterwards it's, oh yeah, this is just two of the tools. Like that's really cool.
oh yeah, yeah. It's actually been quite fun to build.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it started out being built on OpenAI's API just because it was quick and easy.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's uh, it's been interesting.
That's cool, man. Well, I gotta hop off in a few minutes, but do you mind if I give you the 30-second pitch for what I'm doing? I'd just like to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it.
So, okay, I love board gaming, um, and I believe that board gaming is going to be one of those things that survives the singularity, just because it's about our human experience. We're not trying to optimize for a certain goal. We're just trying to
Yep.
we're experiencing something, and it brings us joy. So, I love board gaming, and I want to put towards more better designed games. And so